conversations and as regards that. It has left many of us confused, misinformed. Some of us are even unsure of what actions to actually take, right? And that right there is uncertainty. And you don't want to do your business with uncertainty, right? So that's why we're having this webinar so that you can have a clear understanding about the new tax policy. So before we go right in, I'm just going to say a little bit about myself. For those who do not know me, my name is Deborah Onojeta, right? I'm a digital marketing strategist. I work with entrepreneurs, I work with business owners, I work with individuals to help them grow, to help them scale, and also to make confident business decisions. On the side, I also work as an event planner and coordinator, and of course, a social impact project manager. So I run a digital marketing agency that is called Deborah Onojeta Consult, where we help businesses build structures, systems, and strategies that leads to measurable results. And the webinar you are attending tonight is a product of the agency, right? It's a part of our business that sells community, where we actually, we actually decided to create this monthly webinar. And for the month of January 2026, we are having, our first webinar, which happens to be on the new tax policy. Now, without any further ado, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker. I know I shared her profile with us, right, on the group, but I still want to read it because I am so excited about who she is. I'm so proud about who she is, right? So please permit me to read her bio again, and then we are going to go right into the webinar.
So I'm just going to proceed, okay, so that we can. Now, as a speaker, she is known for her Nigeria's evolving tax landscape, including the new tax move from compliance thinking to strategic institution-level decision-making. So please, with a virtual round of applause, because you're supposed to be clapping for my speaker as I'm reading her profile. So with a virtual round of applause, I would have said a standing ovation, but I cannot see you guys standing right now. Let's make welcome our speaker for tonight, Ms. Perpetua Badejo.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the session for today. So I've decided that we should use a question and answer approach for this webinar, such that at the end of the webinar, we are able to answer, some of the most important questions that are on a lot of people's mind, and then we'd also have room for other questions, right? So I told Deborah to send a message to those on the group to drop, their questions. And what we've tried to do is come up with like the top 13 questions. There are some questions that, one person or three people asking similar questions. So we believe that if we answer one question, we would have covered, 3 or 4 questions. So if you don't see your question here exactly, it's probably because it's similar to another question. So we just picked that one. So without wasting too much time, let me go to the first question that I have here. So for the question 1, a business that is currently registered as an enterprise business name, how should it properly commence tax compliance with Lagos State Internal Revenue Service? Please give me a thumbs up if my audio is good and you can hear me clearly. All right, beautiful. Okay, yeah. So the first thing that I want to say is that particular question is flawed, right? And this is the reason why I would say it's flawed. If you're saying that and you're asking how should it properly commence tax compliance with LRS, what you're trying to say is, whoever is asking that question is, are you trying to say that every enterprise that is registered in Nigeria has to pay taxes to LRS? LRS is Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. And that's the first misconception I want us to deal with. So when it comes to business registration in general, there are 2 forms of registration your business can have. Is either you register your business as a business name or you register your business as a company, a limited liability company, right? Whether public limited liability company or private limited company, right? Yeah. So when you register your business as a business name, what you're simply telling the law is that myself and my business are one. What that means is, if you owe somebody money, so let's say I registered my business as a business name, Peps. Sorry, give me a minute. I'm trying to, okay, I think this is better. Okay, so let's say I registered my business. So I used to have a business name. There was a time in my life I used to sell sneakers, and I registered a business called Peps Collection as a business name. Now, the implication of that is that if I ever took a loan from the bank, let's say my business was booming and I wanted to take loan to expand. So I went to GT Bank and I took a loan of, let's say, 10 million naira. And for some weird reasons, I was unable to pay back. Because in the face of the law, myself and my business are seen as one because it is a business name. Zenith Bank can come and sell my personal house to repay that loan. Zenith Bank can come and sell my personal car to repay that loan. So when you register yourself as a business name, there is no difference between the property that you own and the property that the business own, right? Now, the second form of registration that you can have is limited liability. So when you register your business as a limited liability, what you're telling Okay, so I was trying to say that when it comes to business registration, there is two types of registration that your business can have. Is either you register as a business name, where yourself and your business are seen as one, or you register as a limited liability company. I don't know whether you guys got the part where I was making an example to say if you register your business as a business name, what it means is that you have unlimited liability. The law sees your business and yourself as one. So I was giving the example of, I think there was a time in my life that I used to sell shoes. So I had a business, I registered a business name called Peps Collection. So let's say for some reason my business was booming and I wanted to expand. So I went to Zenith Bank to take a loan and I was unable to pay back that loan. I used my business, Peps Collection, to take the loan. If I'm unable to pay back that loan, Zenith Bank can come and sell my personal property, Perpetual Abadejo. They can sell my car, they can sell my house to repay back that loan. Because in the face of the law, Perpetual Abadejo and Peps Collection are seen as one and the same. Now, the second form of registration that you can have is limited liability, just like the name implies. When you register your business as a limited liability, what you're telling everybody is that this business that I have registered, I want it to stand separately. I want this business to stand like a legal person. The business can enter into contract. You can contract with the business without involving you, the owner. So if the same example that I gave, so if I use my business that I registered as a limited liability, if I use it to take a loan from Zenith Bank, for instance, and I cannot pay back that loan, Zenith Bank cannot sell my own personal property because Zenith Bank has entered into a contract with Peps Limited, which is like a legal person. So that's like one of the key differences. Now let's go back to the question. Now, when you register your business as a business name, what does that mean? Like I said, yourself and your business are seen as one. Now, in that particular case, the business owner will be the one to pay taxes based on the profit that he or she makes from the business name. Let's bring it into perspective. So the way I registered my business name as Peps Collection, let's say during the year, I made a total profit of, let's say, 5 million naira. Because it is a business name, it is not a separate entity that can do anything by itself. So what's going to happen is when me, Perpetual Abadejo, when I'm filing my annual returns, trying to tell the government how much I made, I'm going to include the profit that I made from Peps Collection. So I will have, of course, when you're filing your returns, you're going to have income that you made from different sources. So I'm going to have income from my paid employment, and I'm going to have income or profit that I made from Peps Collection. So as a business owner that registered their business as a business name, you are going to pay what we call personal income tax, right, on the profit of that business. Yeah. Now, the question that this person was asking is, how would they commence compliance with LRS? And I was saying that question is flawed because when you're registered as a business name, as an enterprise, you remit taxes to the state where you are resident. It's not because your friend also registered a business name and your friend is paying taxes to Lagos State. That does not mean that you also have to pay tax to Lagos State. You pay taxes based on residency. Generally, the rule with taxation is wherever you lay your head is wherever you pay your taxes, right? So as someone that has a business name, you will pay taxes to the state, to the Internal Revenue Service of the state where you are resident. So let's say in this case, the person that is asking the question, the person is resident in Lagos State. If you want to start your compliance, what you need to do is go to the e-tax portal, the LRS portal. Everything is online. You don't really have to do so much. Go there and register. Register as a taxpayer. Registered, they are going to ask for your details and they will give you a taxpayer ID. And then before the 31st of March of the next year, you go ahead and pay your taxes. So it's very simple. It's a digitalized process. Just go on the e-tax portal, sign up as a taxpayer, and that's just really it. There's really nothing serious about it. But what I wanted to draw out from that question is just to bring our minds to the fact that because you're registered as a business name does not mean that everybody will pay tax to Lagos State. You pay tax to the state where you are resident. Okay, yeah. The second question that I have here is an enterprise required to prepare and submit audited financial statements? So when we say an enterprise, what we mean is when you register your business as a business name, the business is seen as an enterprise. So when we use the word enterprise, let us stick that we're referring to business name. Okay, so yeah, is an enterprise required to prepare and submit audited financial statements, or will management account financial statement be sufficient for filing on LRS portal? Still back to the LRS portal, like I said, it doesn't have to be LRS, but whatever state that you reside. So if you register your business as a business name and you have an enterprise, you don't have to prepare an audited financial statement. I think those are some of the advantages that comes with having a business name. Even though right now, based on the new tax act, even with if you're a small business, we'll get to that part. If you're a small business, you also don't need to get an audited financial statement, unlike before. So yeah, for you to file your taxes at the end of the year, you don't need to get an audited financial statement. Just prepare your accounts by yourself and attest to that account that, oh, I can confirm as the taxpayer that all of the information that are provided on this account is correct and it is true. And that's enough for you to file. That will be sufficient for you to file with the government. You don't have to go through the burden of getting an independent auditor to review your book and issuing an opinion on whether or not your book shows a true and fair view. You don't need to go through all of those stress, right? Yeah. The third question that we have is, from a tax perspective, would you advise upgrading a business name registration to a limited liability company registration? And what factors should guide this decision? This is a very, very brilliant question. So I'm just going to pick it up from where I stopped when I was explaining about business name and limited liability company. So generally, I like that when people are taking decision, you're not taking decision just because of taxation alone. You know, sometimes when I meet people, I before it even became a thing of, oh, we're trying to avoid taxes, trying to pay less taxes, I always advise people to register their business as a limited liability company. So the thing is, when you register your business as a business name, the business does not have perpetual succession. What it means is that if you leave this earth today, that might be the end of the business. You're not building something that outlives you, right? That's number one. Number two, you cannot bring investors into the business. Now, you don't even have shares. How would anybody? There's no structure. Nobody can invest and say, okay, you want to scale. You can't scale with that kind of structure if you're registered as a business name. It's just you doing your stuff alone. Now, it's not everybody that will register as a limited liability company, right? If what you're doing is small and you really don't have intentions of doing it, for the long run, maybe you're selling snacks on the side as a student, and you know that that's not something you intend to do for long. You just want to do it to keep body and soul together in the interim. You might just keep the registration as a business name, right? But if you know that you're planning to grow, at some point you might want to bring in investors, you want to bring in different people to work for you, then it is always best to register your business as a limited liability company. See, when you register your business as a limited liability company, it's something about structure. See, the thing about structure is, before we even start to talk about taxation, if you know that you want to grow, even if it is just you that is still running that business, you start to put structures in place. When you're sending emails, you are using the structure, this process. You are not just doing everything as if you're running a shop or a kiosk, right? So with limited liability company, anybody you're speaking to about investment, they take you seriously, because the structure already tells that this person has growth in mind. Then number two, when you have a limited liability company and somebody wants to join your business, it's easy for you to sell shares to them. You already know how much your business is worth. You know how much each shares. Maybe you have 1 million shares that you registered. You already know the value of each share, so you can know how much share to allot to them. So it just makes things very, very easy. Now let's now bring the conversation home to taxation. I just wanted to create that background, right, before I talk about taxation. Now, for tax purposes, it is always best for you to register your business as a limited liability company. You know why? Let's go back to the example that I made before. So let's say I registered my shoe business as Peps Collection as a business name. Now, because it is a business name, it means that I am going to pay personal income tax. Now, if I made 60 million profit from selling shoe in the year 2026, by the end of the year, I'm going to pay taxes on the entire 60 million. So when I'm computing my personal income tax, I already put my income from paid employment. I'm going to put the entire 60 million profit, put it in tax table, take whatever relief is available, and then pay the government, right? Because in the face of the law, there's nothing like small individual or big individual. When you make money as an individual, you expect to pay taxes on it, right? Now, the same shoe business, remember I made profit of 60 million. Let's say the same shoe business, let's say I I registered this as a limited liability company. And for the year 2026, I made turnover of 90 million with profit of 60 million. Turnover is the sales. Profit is after you've deducted your cost from your sales, whatever is left, that is your profit, right? Now you pay taxes on your profit. Government will not tell you to pay taxes on the sales figure that you made. But in determining whether you're a small company or whether you're a large company, one of the criteria that they use is turnover, your sales. If you've not made up to 100 million naira in revenue in a particular year, it means you are a small company. That's the first condition. The second condition is if your fixed asset is not more than 50 million, then it means you're a small company. Let me take it again. So let's say, let me use the same scenario so that it will sync. The same Pepsi Limited, I make turnover sales of 90 million, profit of 60 million. Now, before I pay taxes, remember it is a limited liability company. I'll ask myself, oh, I realized that there are some reliefs or some exemptions that are available to small businesses, right? I'll ask myself, do I fall under the category of a small business, of a small company? So how do I know that? I ask myself, did I make revenue of up to 100 million in the year? So I checked, I made revenue of 90 million. So the answer is no, right? I checked the second condition. My total fixed assets for my business, is it up to 250 million? If the answer is no, it means I'm a small company. If the answer is yes, it means I am not a small company. So you must meet the two conditions, the two criteria for you to fall under the small company threshold. So now if I establish that I'm a small company based on the turnover that I made and the value of my fixed assets, it means that I'm going to pay companies income tax at 0%. That is what the law says. The law says that any small company, see, the government is not trying to tax you as a small company. They are trying to say that, oh, we know that you are small, you are still trying to expand. Don't worry about paying taxes now. Whatever money that you make, just reinvest it back into your business. By the time you grow and you're making so much, you can then talk about taxes. So that's the rationale behind, exempting or not exempting, telling small companies to pay tax at 0%, right? So if you're not aware of this as a business owner, you will just be trying to evade tax for no reason. So some of you will just be hiding your books of account, doing hanky-panky. When people reach out to me and they're like, oh, I'm worried about these taxes, the first question that I ask them is, how much do you even make as a business? Does your business make up to 100 million in revenue in a year? Do you have assets, fixed assets that are up to 50 million? If you don't have, there's no reason to say, I want to hide this one. There's no reason for that. There's no reason to evade because you're going to pay taxes at 0%, right? So generally, for tax purposes, I always advise that you register your business as a company, a limited liability company, because there are more reliefs available for small companies in the Tax Act right now than for business name. For business name, there's no distinction between a small person or a big person. So far you make money as an individual, you pay your taxes. But for a company, you can you can pay taxes at 0%. So yeah, that's not about that. The third question that we have here, please give me a thumbs up if you're following. Give me a thumbs down if you are lost. Okay, all right. The question 3 that we have is, from a tax perspective. Okay, I think I've taken question 3. All right, question 4. For someone who does not keep proper books of accounts and only has bank statements, how does LIRS verify the accuracy of the declared income? And what are the risks of under declaring your income? So I'll refer to that question. In place of LIRS, I'll just put tax authority because not everybody stays in Lagos State, right? So for someone who does not keep proper books of accounts and only has bank statements, how does the relevant tax authority verify the accuracy of their declared income? So you guys are aware, in case you're not aware, the tax system that we use in Nigeria is what we call the self-assessment. So with self-assessment, all you need to do is you will be the one to assess yourself to taxes. You really want to tell the government that I made 10 million this year. Out of that 10 million, 3 million was the cost of doing the business, 2 million was a loan from so person. I did this with this one. My total profit that is left is so amount, and based on that, this is the tax I'm going to pay, and you go ahead and pay it. It's the self-assessment. Now, because of course they can't just trust you. When you're done filing your taxes, you tell the government you've completed by yourself and pay taxes on it. The government are now going to come for audit. At any point in time, they can come for audit and say, okay, we saw your filing. You said you made 100 million, or you said you made 10 million. Can you show us evidence? They will ask questions. things that help them establish the claims that you've made. You said you made 10 million and your expenses were 3 million. Can we see the invoices for those expenses? Can we see the receipts? You said you paid somebody. Can we see, they'll ask questions to establish that particular thing. Now, for somebody that does not keep proper books of accounts, what I need you to understand is that it is a crime in the law for you not to keep proper books of accounts. You are mandated as a taxpayer to keep proper books of accounts. So you are not, it's no longer about you. It's not something of I feel like, I don't feel like. When it comes to keeping proper books of accounts, you are expected, you are obligated by law to keep proper books of accounts. So when the tax authority comes to audit you and you don't have proper books of accounts, there are fines and penalties that are involved, right? There are fines and penalties that are involved because you are supposed to keep your record. Now, that's number one. I've established the fact that you're supposed to keep your record. Number two is, how would they know? So let's even say that I even keep proper books of accounts, but of course, it's whatever I tell them. How they would know is this. See, when you make money as an individual, there are three things that you probably do with that money. Number one is either you consume it. You either, you go on vacation, you buy stuff, you do all sorts of the money. Number two is that you either invest it. You do real estate investments, you buy stocks, you do all sorts. And the number three is that you save it. Right? Now, the interesting thing is that either whatever you choose to do with those money, if you do any of those three things, there's a way that the government can get data and they would know. So, for instance, the government has mandated banks and other financial institutions to report accounts that has transactions the cumulative transaction of more than 50 million naira in a month. They should report those accounts to them or notify them of such accounts. That's one. If you're making money and you're saving it, the bank is reporting to the government, right? So the government will say, Perpetua says she made 5 million naira in the year. From our data that we have, we can see that she saved 50 million. This same Perpetua that says she made 10 million, she bought shares, right? Because these financial institutions, they will file reports to the government. And now with this tax regime that we're doing, everything is linked. Your TIN is linked to almost all the financial transactions that you're doing. So the government said that this same person that they said they made 10 million, how come she was able to buy shares of 30 million in a company? Okay. She even bought a house with so real estate company. She even paid so amount of money. Oh, we can see that she even went on vacation. So through all of those data, those third-party data that they have, they will be able to tell whether you are lying or whether you're saying the truth. So it's not always, and that's why when the LRS, for instance, or any other relevant tax authority, when they write to you, they will tell you that based on our internal data, these are the ways that they get the data from third party. They link it together. Okay, based on this same person that said they made this amount of money. So when they write to you, they're telling you to come and explain. You said you made 10 million, but somehow, miraculously, you are buying shares of 30 million, buying house in Banana Island. So you come and explain. It's not fight. So if you said, so you can come and say, truthfully, from my income, I actually made just 10 million naira. The remaining money that you saw me lavishing around, it was an inheritance. You will explain. But those are the ways that the government can know of your actions. It's not just about you. It's not even you alone. They will monitor. Third parties, they will use third parties to get that data about you. Do you get? So yeah. The next question that we have is, with the directive to all financial institutions to charge VAT, how will this affect POS agents, especially for withdrawal purposes? How do they calculate charges on purchase, withdrawal, deposit, and transfers? So what I would say with this is, first of all, the POS agent is the person making up to or more than 100 million in any particular year from the POS charges that the person does. So your favorite POS lady, does she make up to 100 million from those 100 naira they collect from you for 10,000 naira transfer, the 200 naira they collect from you from 20,000 naira transfer? In a year, when we sum everything together, is he up to 100 million? If it's not up to 100 million, the law sees her as a small business, and as such, she does not have any responsibility to register for VAT, to charge VAT, and to file VAT, because she's a small business. So I'm just going to end that conversation there. Investigate you. From what the charges you are making 100 million a year, then you're a big boy now. Don't worry about taxes. You should be able to pay tax from those charges, right? You should be able to pay VAT from the charges that you collect from your customers. But if not, the government are not after you. They have bigger boys they are chasing. Do you understand? So yeah. The next question that we have is for someone that has 3 accounts, of which one is a business account, will tax be paid on all accounts? So I like this question very much. And that is also to establish something that, once again, the tax system that we use in Nigeria is self-assessment. It means it is you by yourself that will tell the government, this is how much I need, this is how much tax I want to pay. So taxes is not paid based on how much is in your bank account or how many banks that you have. You are the one that would do the estimate. You have 3 bank accounts. You would be the one to analyze all the bank accounts and tell the government how much you made, how much you did not make. So it's not like the government will now be going from your individual bank. It's okay, Perpetual Badijo account to Fidelity Bank. Okay, based on this account, our tax is this. Oh, she has account with Zenith Bank. Oh, based on this account, our tax is this. No, it does not work that way. You compute yourself, and then maybe doing audit, the government cannot request for your bank statement just to authenticate whatever thing that you must have, claimed that happened, right? But generally, taxes are not paid based on bank statements, right? They are paid based on economic activities that you do. If you say you made sales of 10 million, right, it does not matter whether 5 million was paid into your Zenith Bank, whether 3 million was paid into your Fidelity, whether 2 million was paid into your OPay. What matters is that you made sales of 10 million, and that is your revenue, right? So it is also wrong of you as a person to say, I want to pay tax, but I'm only going to pay tax based on my Fidelity Bank account. You see that my Zenith Bank account, every money that enters into the account, I'm not going to pay taxes on it. It is actually wrong. Taxation is not based on bank accounts. Okay, so yeah. And when the government comes for audit, before they even come for audit, you know that your TIN is now linked to your BVN, which is also linked to all your bank accounts. So somehow back end, they can see all the accounts that you control. So, and even lying and withholding information is actually, it is an offense punishable under the law. So if the government authority come and say, tender all your bank statements, and you produce 2 bank statements, meanwhile you have 5 bank statements, what you are doing is an offense and it is punishable. Do you understand? So yeah, because they themselves back end, they can see the number of bank accounts that you run. So you don't need to lie. Yeah. The next question that we have is, are there new reporting or filing requirements business owners should immediately prepare for? I think generally what I would say is no. Nothing has really changed from the different filing obligations that we have before, right? For businesses, let me not just limit it to small businesses. For businesses, there are 3 types of taxes that you probably have to worry about. Number 1 is transaction taxes. These are taxes that has to do with transactions that you enter into when you're buying and you're selling. Those kind of taxes will come up. Example of value-added tax. We have withholding tax. We have stamp duty. We have import duties. We have excise duty. So that's the first bucket of tax you should worry about. The second bucket that you should worry about is employee taxes, employee obligations. If you have a business and you have employees that work for you, there are some tax obligations that arise. You should deduct payee from their salary and remit to the government. If you have up to 3 staff, you should make pension contribution for them, do group life assurance, pay ITF, pay NSITF. Those are employee obligation, payroll obligations, right? And then the last one is the income tax, which is if you're registered as a company, you pay your company's income tax. And if you're registered as an enterprise, you pay your personal income tax. So generally, those are the 3 types of taxes that you should really worry about as a business. And then you can also do a tracker, right, to know what taxes are due monthly, what taxes are due annually, what dates each taxes are due, set up reminders so that you're not caught up with deadlines, right? So yeah. The next question that we have is, how can business structure their operations legally to minimize tax exposure under the new policy? So what I would say is, how can you structure their operations legally? I think one of the tax structuring that we're talking about is also, migrating from being a business name to being a limited liability company so that you can enjoy the relief that is available to small companies. Another thing that you can do is making sure that you are keeping proper books of accounts. So there's something in taxation called filing, and there's something called remittance. So if you are a business owner, and even though you are not, let's say you fall under the category of a small company, and you are not going to pay any tax per se, your tax is 0%, you are still expected to file. Filing is just coming to tell the government that, this is what has happened, though. These are the transactions that happened during the year. This is how much I made, though. This is my expenses. I remember you said I'm a small business. I'm a small company. I should pay tax at 0%. So it means that I'll pay tax at 0%. You're just coming to explain, file, just showing the government what has happened. Now, if you refuse to file, there are penalties involved for not filing, even though you don't have a tax obligation. Like, even though you don't have a tax, should I use the word tax obligation for lack of better word? Because in the end, you don't have any taxes that are due, right? But you are still supposed to file. So as a business, even though you don't have any tax obligation that is due, please make sure that you always file your taxes, because they'll fine you separately for not filing and then file you separately for not remitting. So in a case where you do not file because you don't have anything to remit, they'll tell you that the law says that even though you don't have any taxes, that's what the law says. Go and read the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. Even though you don't have any taxes to pay, you are still expected to file. So yeah. The next question that we have is, what are the most common mistakes that could expose businesses to penalties under the new tax policy? I think the popular one is tax evasion, trying to be smarter or trying to run faster than your shadow. Like I said, except you're making up to 100 million, there is no reason to evade taxes. There is no reason not to keep proper books of accounts. There is no reason to be shady, right? Just be transparent. Nobody is coming for you. You are not their target audience. You see, under the canon of taxation, there's something called economy, right? It means that the benefit that the government gets from taxation must be more than the cost. It does not make sense that the government will use 2 million naira to collect a tax of 200,000 naira from you. So you are not, they have bigger guys and bigger boys that they are chasing. So just all you just need to do to comply is just file as and when due. Don't be doing hanky-panky, you now have 3 bank accounts, you declare only 2. You do not need all of that. Just be open, be transparent, get the required knowledge. And I think sometimes the reason why people, see, my people perish for lack of knowledge. If you're not on this webinar now and you didn't know that all of these benefits are available for small businesses, you will join the bandwagon of people that are saying, this stay like this, I'll be collecting only cash. Meanwhile, you did not even have to do that because you're not making up to 100 million. You are supposed to pay just 0%. Do you understand? So please, one of the common mistakes is trying to evade. In the process to evade, you run into troubles. And by the time you run into troubles, you pay penalties and it won't be fine. Yeah. So the other question that we have is, are there recommended tools or systems SMEs should adopt to stay compliant? So for SMEs, I know one of the things that a lot of people say is that I cannot afford an accountant, I cannot afford a tax consultant, which is okay. But what you can then do is there are solutions that are very, very cheap. Some of you say you don't keep proper books of account because you cannot afford an accounting software. Gone are those days. There's a software, Nigeria-made software now that charges you as low as 750 naira every month for one user. So what's your excuse really? It's called Times. When you get the software, 750, you keeping your books of accounts, everything is just in tax for just 750 naira. And when it's time for any audit, you know exactly what to do. Your books are being structured in one place. At a glance, you can tell how much. So beyond taxation self, when we're talking about keeping proper books of accounts, it is primarily for your own good. You are able to tell at a glance how much your business made. Or you can do trend analysis, compare your performance this month to your performance from last month. Are you making progress or are you regressing? These are the data that you can get when you keep proper books of accounts. And if you see that 750 naira, it's not 750,000. We'll go to this one. And if you say that 750 naira is too much for you, another thing that you can do is you can use Google Sheet to keep your records. Just open a folder on Google Drive where you're storing all of the invoices that you issue. All this thing takes is just intentionality. Sometimes to be compliant, you don't need some sophisticated tools. If you have that, more good than fine. If you don't, you can make use of whatever you have. Deborah, I'll need you to put mute Joshua. Joshua, please mute yourself. I'm not able to do that. Okay, thank you. All right. The next question that we have is, a business that is into events, entertainment, what form of tax is to be remitted? The fact that your business is into entertainment and events, it does not make you different from every other business out there. So the same taxes that apply to the regular business also applies to you, except if there are any provisions in the law that says that, for business into MC, or for business into DJing, or for business into event planning, we specifically exempt them. But I can't think of any. I haven't seen any like that. So the regular taxes that apply to every other business also apply to you, right? Yeah. The next question that we have, and I think this is the second to the last question, what is the tax effect on the stock market? So if you're someone that trade on the stock exchange right now, what is the implication of this new tax act? So I think for those that trade, it's actually a very good thing, because right now, from this year, if you sell shares, you buy and sell shares, you trade in shares below 150 million, and the total gain that you make in a 12 calendar month is no more than 10 million, you're not going to pay taxes on those gains that you make. They are exempt from taxes. The only time you're even going to pay tax is, so let's say you trade in the capital market and you made gain of 11 million. So you're only going to pay taxes on the 1 million naira extra above that 10 million. So if you make 50 million profit, you're going to pay taxes of 5 billion naira that is above that 10 million. But generally, they've increased the threshold. So it means that more people that are playing in the capital market, they have much more exemption, right? So yeah. The last question that we have is, what will be the fate of students who receive their school fees in their accounts? And I think I have somehow answered this. Like I said before, taxation is not based on money that enters into your bank account. Taxation is based on the income that you made. And it is even better because you are the one that will tell the government what is income to you. So the fact that 30 million entered your account does not mean that the tax authority will expect you to pay taxes on the entire 30 million. You really want to tell them that out of this 30 million, 10 million naira was for Ashwebi that I collected from my friends. It was not my money. 5 million naira was a loan that I took from PAMPay. The actual income that I made here is just 3 million. You really want to explain. And when you're explaining, make sure that you have supporting documents to back your claim. When it comes to taxation, it's not by narration, putting gifts or putting all sorts. When you say something is a gift, they would look at it and look at the substance. Look at it. Okay, you said this thing is a gift. How come are you a charity? Do you run a charitable organization? Why is it that everybody is gifting you year in, year out, month in, month out? You know, some things just old water. The people you're talking to as well, they have a brain in their head that they will use when they're talking to you. So yeah, as a student, except you are making money, you have a business that you do on the side as a student. That's when you have to worry about paying taxes. But because money enters into your bank account, does not mean that you have to pay taxes on that money. Taxation is based on the income or the profit that you make, not based on the money that enters into your bank account. I think it's just the wrong narrative that's been flying around on social media that is making a lot of us to have this kind of questions. Okay, so yes, so those are the that's all concerning the questions that we've collected so far. I think I'll just go to the chat box so that I can take the other questions that we have. But before then, please give me a thumbs up if you have gained something from the session, and please drop any other questions that you have in the chat box so that we can quickly look at them before within the next 10 minutes. So I'm trying to stick to time. Okay. Let me see the beginning. Someone said, as a freelancer with a steady monthly income from local and foreign clients, do I need to register a business or open a business account to deduct work-related expenses like electricity, internet, and co-working rent before paying taxes? So, like I said, you don't need to open if you open a business account, it's okay, but at the end of the month, at the end of the year, when you're computing your taxes, it is still you that will tell the government by yourself, okay, from my bank account, I made this, but these are the expenses that I incurred. What matters the most is any expense that you claim you are incurring. It does not even matter whether you pay the expense from your bank or whether you paid cash. What matters is that you have documents to back up. You cannot say you paid rent for co-working space without receipt. You cannot say you paid for electricity without getting tokens and receipts. So you must have things that support whatever claims that you're making. So yeah. Somebody said, with the new tax law for organizations that work remotely with employees residing in different states in the country, and with the challenge of filing as a lot of state revenue services are online, how do you advise we handle paying of payee? So if you work for a company that has employees in like 5 different states, I'm sorry, but you have to remit payee to those 5 different states. Now, the good thing is that there are portals where you can do all the remittance in one place. So rather than going to Ogun State Internal Revenue to file for 3 of the staff, then you go to LIRS to file for 5 of the staff, then you go to Kaduna Internal Revenue Service, if there's anything like that, you go to Rivers State. There are portals online that you can just log onto those portals and then just upload the different schedule for the different states, pay them, and they'll be the one to do the running around. Just one spot, one-stop shop for all your remittance to different states, right? But yeah, you will still have to remit to different states if you don't want to use those portals, right? Can you please clear the air about small businesses not paying VAT? So like I said before, if you're a small business, that means you're making revenue of below 100 million and your fixed asset is not up to 50 million in a year. The government has said that you are not mandated to register for VAT, to charge VAT, and to file VAT. So you don't have to worry about VAT. All you need to do is just do your business and keep it moving, right? Yes. The next question that we have is, since Nigeria is a self-assessment, what happens when a business making up to 100 million and they did registered under the relevant tax authority and they are currently not paying taxes? So what would happen is the government will do what we call a best of judgment assessment. And that's what we always tell you, that before the government come for you, go and meet them. Because when they come for you, it comes with a lot of drama and a lot of chaos. So if you refuse to file your taxes and the government, through their internal data that they're able to get, data mining, of course, they have access to different bank accounts, they can get data, and they're able to see that you are making money and you're not paying taxes. They would, now, this time around, they will just sum up all the credit that enters into all your bank accounts and, slam the tax rate on it and tell you to pay taxes. That's your taxes, because you have not done what you're supposed to do to go and register and then tell them what has happened. So when they now send you sort letter, you now have to be running a tax scatter, looking for a tax compliance to help you tell them that it is a lie. The 10 million that they said is your tax, is not 10 million. Actually, the credit side, the total money that enter into your bank account is really 100 million. But out of that 100 million, is you now start explaining something that you could have done before and save yourself a lot of stress and a lot of back and forth. So you don't always have to wait until the government find out and write to you before you do the right thing. Because by the time they write to you and maybe you guys do a back and forth and you finally agree on a tax liability that I owe you, you will pay penalties and fine for not filing for each month that you're supposed to remit that you do not remit. Your penalty is accruing every month plus interest. So you don't have to wait till that before you do the right thing, right? Someone said, please, I need clarity on how rent relief works for employees. My understanding is that an employee can submit a rent receipt to claim rent relief and reduce the income tax. My question is, can the same rent relief be used by more than one person? For example, okay, so I get a point. So what you're saying is that in a household where there are married couples, so they pay rent, and you want to know whether the wife can use the rent receipt and the husband can use the rent receipt. Ideally, it is one person that's supposed to use the rent receipt, because in your tenant agreement, the landlord actually entered into agreement with just one person. Is it that the wife that took the apartment and the husband moved in with the wife, or was the husband that took the apartment and the wife moved in? But whenever you're going to rent an apartment, the agreement that you have on the contract is usually between yourself, is usually between one of the couple and the landlord. So in such cases as well, when it's time to pay rent and the rent receipt will typically carry one person's name, right? So whoever whose name is on the receipt is the one that will enjoy the benefits. But it's so sad that in Nigeria, because we don't really have an integrated database, you might see instances where a wife is claiming something and the husband is also claiming it, which is not ideal. That's not the intention of the law, right? Yeah. Please, how about someone that is running a big business with a personal account and is being charged 5K plus on stamp duty? What can this person do? This person does business of 10 to 20 million monthly. You said you're being charged stamp duty. Stamp duty is something that you have to pay when, maybe you transfer money above 10,000. There's really nothing anybody can do about it. Is the obligation that the government has given to the bank. So there's really nothing anyone can do about that. You just have to manage that. Okay. Please, can you repeat that of stock market? So what I said about stock market is that there are exemptions, right? If you're trading in the stock market and you've traded stock of not more than 150 million, and your gain in a year is not more than 10 million, any gain that you make, you're not going to pay taxes on it, because ideally you're supposed to pay tax on whatever gain that you make from trading in the stock market. But if you have not met this threshold, then you are not supposed to pay taxes. And even if you meet the threshold and the gain that you made from the stock market, you reinvest everything back into a Nigerian business, into a Nigerian stock. You bought Nigerian stock with the gain. Within a 12 calendar month, you still not pay tax on that gain that you have made, right? Someone said, I won an online savings Ajo. Have a tips to share how I can go about that, the paying and payout of money when it's everyone's turn, and how do I keep record for this as well? So like I said, taxation is not based on the money that enters into your bank account. When you run an Ajo, the question is, do you make money? Do you charge those people? Because I know a lot of thrift thrift collectors, what they do is, if you contribute with them, let's say you contribute 100,000 with them, at the end of the year they'll give you 75,000 and keep 5,000, right? Or sorry, give you 95,000 and keep 5,000. That 5,000 naira is your income, and that is the thing that you pay taxes on, not the 100,000 or the 10,000 that people are sending to your account every month. No, of course you would also show the outflow. So when the tax authority comes and maybe they want to audit your books and they're like, okay, we saw that you had an inflow of 100 million into your account, you only need to show evidence that, oh, you run a thrift business and this is the evidence. Can they also see the outflow when you're sending the money back to those people? This is the gain that you made. This is the income that you made from that thrift business, and it is based on that income that you can then pay taxes. The 5,000 you collect from this person, the 1,000 you collect from that person, sum everything together, that is your income that taxes will be liable on, not the entire inflow that came into your bank account. So you don't have anything to worry about. Like I said as well, is self-assessment. You'll be the one to tell the government what came into your account, what portion of it is your income, what portion of it is an expenses. So all of those detailing and explaining is on your shoulder, right? Yeah. How do you keep records? Like I said, you could get a Google form, a Google sheet, or get an accounting software, a cheap accounting software. Just get anything really that can help you keep records, so that when it's time for you to show evidence of all of these things, you have something that you can fall back on, right? Thank you for answering the freelancer question. Would this tax be paid monthly or yearly for the freelancer? For freelancer, it's annual. By the end of the year, you complete your taxes for the entire year and you go ahead and file and make payment. What's the app or name of the app you mentioned of 750 times? TYMS times, right? Under the new tax out, how do you calculate a monthly gross of 50,000 before any statutory deduction? What will be the net pay? So go to my page on LinkedIn. It's called my name is Perpetual Badijo. I did a detailed post on how you can compute your net pay from any gross pay that you have. So go there, you'll get all of the details that you need. I can't start to do that on this call right now. You explained earlier that we should file whether we pay tax or not. We charge only withholding tax to staff monthly allowance, and that's the only tax charge. Can we still file? And if we can file, how do we go about it? If you're deducting withholding tax from your staff, that's an example of transaction tax. If I put it that way, that's under bucket of transaction tax. Every month you have to remit, because the withholding tax that you deduct from your staff is not your money. You are just like a collection agent. You're supposed to pay them 5,000. You took 10% on behalf of the government, pay them 4,500, right? That 500 naira is not your money. You pay to the government. The other filing that I was talking about on whether or not you have tax, I was talking about your income tax, right? So whether or not you are going to pay tax, whether or not you have a tax that is due, you are supposed to file, right? Yeah. But for withholding tax, if you've deducted money from somebody's payment, from somebody's invoice, there is a responsibility on you, even without the government saying anything, to go ahead and remit the government the money for the person, right? Because if not, you are cheating the person, right? Yeah. What's the new rent relief? How does an organization compute an employee payee, including rent relief? I think I'll need to direct you back to that post I made as well. It's quite detailed, and the post was made for non-accountants, right? So you don't need anything, just go there. Everything that you need to know is there. And if you're an accountant and you're asking this question from the capacity of an accountant, then you should join my tax training that is starting tomorrow. We'll teach you how to build a payroll from scratch, teach you how to do tax computations, every single thing you need to know about taxation. Basically, we'll hold your hands. We have experts coming on board. Then you need to join that, right? Yeah. Then the last question, because it's 9 already. Can you kindly explain tax payments for your staff? Please go back to that post as well. The name of the app, I already mentioned that. How about small businesses that is registered as a limited liability? So if you're asking tax payment for your staff, you need to know how to compute taxes. If you are a business owner and you want to compute taxes for your staff, you need to get somebody to build a payroll for you, or you join a tax training and learn how to build a payroll so that you can do all of this remittance monthly, because you need to know how to deduct, you need to know how much to deduct, you need to know how to remit, how to file, and all of those things. So yeah, you need somebody to hold your ends. But if you're just asking general, as maybe you are an employee, you're not an accountant, you just want to know, I'm earning so amount, how much will my taxes be? Please go to my page. There is a detailed post there that would really guide you, right? I think there's just a more question. How about small businesses that is registered as a limited liability company or as a business name after having filed for tax with the state of residence Are they liable to pay any form of tax to the local government? Yes, you will still pay taxes to the local government. So you pay something like tenement rate, business premises levy. So it varies depending on the state that you reside in, right? So the local government will come to you from time to time and tell you, oh, madam, you stay in this place. You're supposed to pay business premises for staying in this location, So you still pay local government. You still pay taxes to local government. What is the impact of the tax reforms in the accounting educational sector? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm supposed to answer that. What is the tax implication on an investment in real estate? For better understanding, there is a common investment scheme in real estate where investors pay a reasonable amount of money to a real estate firm in a bid to get ROI after the firm has traded with the money. So if you invested with a real estate company and you make income, it is investment income and it is taxable, right? It is taxable. Whatever income that you make from that investment is an extra source of income to you, and such incomes are taxable under the new tax act, and even before now, you pay taxes on it. Do all your staff need to submit their rent receipt? Is it compulsory? Those that are interested in claiming the rent relief should submit their rent receipt, but anybody that does not submit their rent receipt would not claim the rent relief. It's that simple. You get? Yeah. The fact that big organizations like bank do pay tax or phone shop that import phones from overseas, does that mean that they can impose VAT using a tax calculator provided by the government? Although I don't pay tax, do I need to send statements about my spending to the government? And if so, I think I already explained it somewhere in the webinar. So maybe you joined late or you might have to listen again. Please, what if I open a business account for my business? How do I register with the government to start remitting tax and keep records? So depending on the kind of registration that you did, if you're registered as a limited liability company, you need to register your business, register for taxes with the NRS. It's simple. Go to their portal, you see the directives on how you can register your business, and you get your tax ID and all of those things, right? And if you're registered as an enterprise, what you then need to do is determine the state where your business is resident, where you're resident. That's the state where you're going to pay your income tax to. So go to their portal, find out how you can register with that particular state. So I think we are past time. So I'll just take 2 more questions and that will be it. Please, what if I open a business? Okay, I think I already took that. What if an employer doesn't deduct tax and pays the employee gross income? Can the employee file their taxes themselves monthly or yearly? You file it yearly. You do your annual returns at the end of the year. So yeah. Thank you for answering the questions on returning tax. We remitted the tax to the government already. Can we do annual tax filing with that? Yes. You have to do. So sorry, there was a big transition when you were answering the questions already. Okay, yeah. Even though as a company, even though you've been remitting taxes for your staff every month, you still need to do what we call Form H1, annual returns. You need to file annual returns on or before 31st of January of the next year. So you still need to do that. So yeah, I think luckily we were able to answer all the questions we have in the chat box. If you feel like your question was not answered enough, it's probably because I already have something detailed enough on my page that I feel will answer that, and I can't start doing all of those, jiggery pokey on this call. But with that, I think I would say we have come to the end of this session, and I would hand over the mic back to Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perpetua. Thank you so much. Please, I just want us to just appreciate her. In fact, she went deeper than actually expected, right? So I just want us to appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, there's one thing I want everybody to do for me right now while we are on this call. Don't wait till later, even though I'm still going to drop the link on the group. Please, everybody go on LinkedIn, for those who are on LinkedIn, and search Perpetua Badejo and follow her. And consume all the content. If you have to consume it like textbook, consume it like a textbook. I don't know how you want to do it, but please go there and follow her. She's also on Facebook. She's also on Instagram. But you need to even follow her on Instagram because you are going to learn and you're also going to have fun while you're with her on Instagram. So please, as much as possible, her name is Perpetua Badejo on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Please do so to follow her. I will still also drop her link as well too. This is the questions that we can actually take for now. We cannot take further questions. However, just as she mentioned, if you have further questions you want to ask and you feel like, oh, you really want to know so much deeper about tax and everything, she has a master class that is coming up. It's called Basic to Pro Tax Master Class. and it's a 4 days virtual training, not a webinar. I said training. So you can imagine how much you're going to learn. I will also share the flyer to us as well too on the group, right? So that you can actually get to register. All right. In fact, there's a lot more that you need to really understand as a business owner, as an individual and the likes of it. So please do well to make sure you actually register. Okay. I think that will be all for the night. I really appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight. I sincerely apologize for my network. The network is here and there. I'm so sorry. It actually made us feel like we're not organized, right? But I'm really, really sorry. It's Nigeria, and there's really nothing we can do about it. But I think that we made everyone. Thank you for asking your questions. I want to believe that you've gotten clarity. I want to believe that you are much prepared about the new tax policy and you will make the right decision moving forward. So please, once again, like I already said, this webinar is being organized by the Development Concept, which is my digital marketing agency under the Business and Sales community, right? So we usually have monthly webinars. Okay, so apart from this, by the month of February, we're also going to have another webinar. But definitely before that time, you're also going to learn, while you're in. So please, if you join the group because of the webinar, you don't necessarily have to leave the group. You can still be there, right? But I'm feeling Mr. Precious and to come back again to us. We don't know yet. I'll put it about it. Right? But please, I really do sincerely appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for and to my team members, thank you so much as well for making this possible. Please do us follow us on social media and the one that is as of now, our Instagram account has been disabled and we're trying to work on it, right? But we're on Facebook and we're on LinkedIn. And please do us follow on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Please. It's not easy to bring if you got all of this for free. Something that you are paying heavily for, you got it for free. But I need you to understand that whatever you get for free, someone actually paid for it, right? And I have paid for it. I have paid the price. So please, you can see the honors of actually following my social media handles and really very, very cool. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I think right now we can now call it a night. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and we're going to see you next month in the month of February for another webinar. Good night, everybody.